Hi everyone, welcome back to Soul Sync. Today we will be talking about how to deal with difficult people. Before we get started, don't forget to click the bell and subscribe so that you get notified every time new content comes out. Let's jump into it. So, we've all dealt with difficult people in life, whether that's family, friends, coworkers, people ahead of us in the line at the grocery store, traffic causing us to feel road rage. We are surrounded by a diverse mix of people in our everyday lives that sometimes cause a little bit of friction between us and them when we experience personality clashes, different priorities, different opinions on how things should be done or how they should not be done. We got to look at the inverse too, right? So we've all encountered this scenario where somebody rubs us the wrong way. We maybe come to an interaction with good intentions. We are thinking that we're speaking clearly, that our point is getting across, and they just get triggered, they get angry, they're short with us, they get snippy, and then we in turn get triggered by them and we say, oh, they treated me so bad. They shouldn't have had such an attitude. What's their problem, right? We've all been there. And that's okay. That's normal. It's a part of life. But what we're going to talk about today is how to deal with difficult people, how to navigate these situations so that we are able to maintain our individual integrity, we're able to maintain our cool, and to help us get more skilled at not getting triggered in return when someone gets triggered by us or lashes out to us. So the first thing that we want to do is we are going to want to remember in that moment, no matter how hard it is, that it's not personal. So we often get triggered because we make it all about us. You know, we each have our own ego as well, and it flares up just like other people's do. But we want to make this not personal. It's not that they're doing it to us. It's not that they're not appreciating what we said or what we're offering. It's not that they're not understanding us, right? We really want to shift our perspective from one of, sort of internalizing everything, making it about us, and creating a story for ourselves about how they're the bad guy, right? Our ego is immediately going to want to react. It's going to want to make us the good guy and list everything that we did that wasn't intentionally trying to get that reaction out of them. We recognize it's not the reaction that we want to get from them, and yet it's happening anyway. So when we are conscious and we remember to not make it personal, we are observing them with detachment and curiosity. So let's say you are in front of someone at the grocery store checkout lane, and you know those little dividers that you can put behind your groceries so that someone else can start loading theirs on the conveyor belt. Let's just say you forgot to put it down, okay? You've got a lot going on in your mind. You're kind of in a rush. You are trying to remember a long list of things you have to do between now and getting home, and your mind is just elsewhere, and it's innocent, right? You are just doing your best in that moment to try to keep track of things. So now let's say the person behind you makes some sort of comment under their breath, like, oh, thanks for nothing. You know, way to not help me out, way to not put it out there, way to not be considerate. And initially, our reaction might be, if we hear them at all, right? This is in the scenario where we hear them. Initially, our reaction might be to sort of constrict in our chest, right? Or in our gut, because we are instantly sort of offended, or we feel some sort of guilt or shame because of their perspective of the situation. Now, we didn't mean to offend this person. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't some sort of, conscious snub. that we were doing to get a rise out of them, or, you know, do them wrong in some way, but they have immediately gone into that negative space and they have taken it personally. So it's really important for us to not follow suit. So we don't want to take it personally. We just want to become aware that there has been a comment made, that the other person is upset or triggered or angry. And we just want to remain in that detached space where we can just observe the situation very neutrally. And we're aware that we didn't mean to not put the divider down. We certainly did not mean to cause harm, distress, or anger or inconvenience to anyone else. However, they've taken it that way, and we just want to be aware of how they're reacting without reacting ourselves. So we're going to say, you know, in our minds, okay, this person is obviously upset. I know that I did not intentionally mean to not do this thing. They're offended by it because they don't know that it wasn't intentional. They're just taking it that way. And so when we are able to stay detached and just observe, we can then sort of take that lens and look at them as well and recognize they got triggered, you know, by this action or inaction of mine. And so instead of me getting triggered and saying, oh, they shouldn't, you know, be making comments like this, why would you even say anything? What's wrong with them? They've got such an attitude. Can't they just let it go? Be a nice person. I've got all these things going on in my mind. We are going to stay detached and observe and recognize that they can't possibly know that we have all of these things going on in our mind. It's just a simple misunderstanding. We also don't know what has been going on in their day. They don't know we're busy and we have a long list, and that's why we didn't put it down. It slipped our mind. And we also don't know what space they're coming from. Maybe they had a terrible day at work. Maybe, you know, they have a lot of family members that are reaching out to them lately, and it's causing them a lot of stress because a lot of people need something from them in some way, and they're just feeling a little bit short on their internal resources. And so this was kind of the last straw. So we've really got to remember to observe others and observe ourselves from this very healthy, detached space with love and curiosity, seeking to understand from a really neutral perspective, you know, that there has just been some sort of misunderstanding. The way that we have aligned together in this experience has caused some friction, and we are now going to move into that higher vibe state where we are not getting triggered in response. We're not going to lash back out or make some comment back. We can just simply maintain our integrity and our grace, our maturity, and allow ourselves to continue growing emotionally by not reacting and just remaining curious, open, observant, and detached, and very neutral, and allowing it to be what it is. So what we also want to remember when we're dealing with difficult people in whatever situation arises, so we can kind of let go of that grocery store example now, but we'll just keep this a little bit more general as we proceed, is that we don't want to make it about their character. So we don't want to make a character judgment when we're dealing with difficult people, though it's very easy to just label them and say, oh, they're an X, they're this, they're a Y, you know, like they're a big B. We don't want to generalize their character overall. So this is not about them being a good person or a bad person or a kind person or a mean person. Who they are on the inside is the same as who we are on the inside. Their soul, they mean well in this world. They've been through their own challenges and struggles, whether it's an immediate challenge that happened today that might make them a little bit more trigger happy than usual, or maybe they've just had a challenging life. They're coming out of a rough patch. They're transitioning between careers. You know, we don't have to create all these little storylines in our minds. The point is that we just want to recognize and remind ourselves we don't have all the information. We don't have all the answers. So when this sort of scenario happens, we just want to keep it very general about the person themselves and just remind ourselves this is a pattern of behavior. This is something that has been learned. And that they've kind of been conditioned to react in this way when things are not going their way, or they're just, generally behaving very obstinate or very intrusive, very offensive, very off-putting for us. And it's really not about who they actually are on the inside. It's just behavior. So we don't need to overgeneralize their character and start labeling them. What we want to do is self-reflect and recognize that we have been in their shoes, maybe not their exact shoes, situationally or literally their shoes, but we just want to self-reflect and remind ourselves that there have been situations, circumstances, instances in our life where we have acted that same way. And we're not a bad person for it. We don't mean to hurt people. Oftentimes, we probably feel pretty bad after the fact if we lash out and hurt someone's feelings, or we, just kind of let something out. We're in the moment, we're heated, and we just feel very justified in saying something, calling something out, trying to get a rise out of someone, wanting to hold someone accountable for something. And, if it does result in conflict, or otherwise, even if it doesn't and they sort of just diffuse the situation, we usually always feel bad afterwards, or just kind of feel in a negative energy because we wish that we had handled it better. We wish that we had not caused wounding or, negative emotion to rise up in the other person. So we can remain neutral, right? Find our zen, deep breath. Okay. So we can remain neutral about their character. We don't have to label them. We don't have to judge them. And we can self-reflect and remain neutral about our character and not judge ourselves, and know that we are all doing our best in any moment that we can. And when we are going through this form of managing difficult people, what's really helpful is when we're thinking about it in terms of not being who they are and not being their character, we also want to maintain that level of detachment energetically, so that if we can self-reflect and see that we all have bad days, we don't have to overextend our energy to diffuse the situation. So if you tend to be very empathic, or a people pleaser, you have a lot of challenge around conflict with others, so you don't like challenge, you don't like conflict, you don't like arguments, you don't like confrontation. When we don't make it about their character or our character, we don't judge them or ourselves. It's really helpful for people who are empathic or people pleasers to also just maintain their own energetic integrity. So when we are able to remain detached and curious and observant, we're not leeching energy to the other person. We're not giving our power away to the situation or them by wanting a different outcome or a different scenario, wishing it had gone down differently, wishing we had done whatever they were asking of us or not done whatever they're now mad about. We really are able to preserve our own energy, and that helps us to stay more aligned with ourselves. And it's sort of like all of these things, all these elements. So it's not their character. We're not judging. We're self-reflecting. We're maintaining our energy. It helps us to remain very aligned with our personal truth. So whether we feel like we're right or wrong for whatever happened when dealing with this difficult person who's posing a challenge for us, we can really just stay self-contained. And when we feel uncomfortable in conflict, it's usually because we've stepped out of our frame, we've lost our center, we are in some way trying to read the situation, figure out a solution, accommodate the other person, make the tension go away. And when we're able to just stay neutral and detached and not make it about who either of us is, we can really just stay in that grounded, centered space and preserve our energy, preserve our integrity, and leave the situation largely with unruffled feathers. We can just kind of exit from whatever exchange is happening, and we don't carry it with us for the rest of the day. And that's really important, is to just leave it where it happened so that we can just move on with life in a very peaceful way without getting dragged down to the level of whatever emotional state that difficult person is experiencing. We want to always maintain our own high vibration, and we do that by keeping it impersonal. We do not make judgments, we self-reflect, and we preserve our energy. We stay balanced and centered throughout the whole interaction that may be unfolding. And lastly, maybe the most important of these things, and I say that because this tends to get people lost in a cycle of misery when they're in connection with difficult people, experiencing a moment with a difficult stranger, or just chronically in a, stuck in a workspace with one or more difficult people that are probably going to be working with them for the indefinite future. And this one is to not try to change the other person. So this is where control issues rise up for anybody who may have people-pleasing tendencies, codependent tendencies. If you largely identify as an empath or a very sensitive person and you have challenge with conflict, you don't like it, it's uncomfortable, you can't handle the tension, it just really disrupts your inner world, do not try to change the other person. Don't try to make them conform to your perspective, to your will. Don't leech your energy out, okay? Trying to make the situation evolve into something else. Your energy is precious, and you don't want to give it away to others or anything or anyone outside of yourself, trying to change something into what you wish it would be, what you want it to be, what you feel like you need it to be. So the other person has a right to be where they are right now and to be who they're choosing to behave as right now. They have that right. We also have that right. And the only person's behavior that we have any influence over or control over truly is our own while we're interacting with other people. That should always be our primary focus, is who am I behaving as right now? How do I feel inside? How do I want to approach this situation? What would leave me in my integrity? What would allow me to leave this situation, this conversation, this connection, feeling good about myself and not feeling terrible or ruminating that things could have changed, that I would have handled it differently. We always want to be mindful and present of where we could also be being triggered and bring some maladaptive tendencies, those low vibe tendencies. So we never want to try to control anybody in general, but this is especially important with difficult people, because the second we try to control difficult people, we've lost all control. We've given away all of our power. We have put ourselves in a space of disempowerment. And that's why we leave those exchanges feeling bad, because we are either trying to control them by conforming to what they want, which is a form of manipulation. We're trying to force them through words, actions, behaviors, counterattacks to submit to us and be who we want. Or we just sort of bow out, but then stew on it for like forever, right? We'll just keep thinking about it and thinking about it and how it didn't go our way. And then we're mad that we just sort of bowed out and didn't lead with integrity. We didn't respond the way that we wish we would have. And that leaves us in an internal state of chaos. And all of those feelings that we leave the exchange with that are low vibrational, they don't feel good. They feel very heavy, thick, slow, dense. They make us miserable. That's a sign that we're trying to control the situation actively or passively, whether it's through changing their perspective through persuasion or influence, or if we are just subtly trying to manipulate them to like us, thinking that if we befriend them, they won't treat us this way. There's a myriad of reasons why we do this, which we're not going to get into right now, but we really don't want to try to change them. We can let them be who they are And because we are coming, remember, from this space of mindful detachment and curiosity, we can have this higher understanding, a very high vibrational perspective about the situation, and know that where they are right now is perhaps not the best headspace for any sort of resolution, any sort of discussion about the matter, any sort of positive interaction that could have unfolded. It's not possible. If someone is coming at you triggered already, carrying baggage from today, yesterday, a month ago, they're grieving something that they haven't talked about, it's none of our business, right? What is driving their behavior? It's just our business to make sure that we're not trying to change them. We're not trying to control them. We are maintaining our own integrity. We are staying high vibe. We're not going to go down to that level. We're not going to fight. We're not going to retaliate in any way. We are just going to stay mindful, present, peaceful, and curious. And that's going to get us very far. And what we find is that when we are able to maintain that state of being in the midst of conflict, often the situation will diffuse itself because we're not fanning the flame. So when we stop trying to control, when we stop trying to change behavior, when we stop judging, when we stop retaliating, getting triggered back because we made it personal, we don't fan the flame. And when you don't fan the flame, eventually it will burn out because there's no oxygen that you are feeding into it by engaging with that individual on that level. So stay high vibe, stay in your integrity, maintain your inner peace while you're dealing with difficult people. Know that you are strong and powerful and capable enough to continue improving your ability to self-regulate and maintain this high vibrational state around difficult people. And over time, what you will find is they will just drift away from you naturally. You know the saying, misery loves company? It's true. If everyone around you is complaining, looking at the problem, and you're offering a solution, they can't hear you. They don't want to hear you. They're bonding with each other, creating connections with each other over discord and complaint and problems. And if you've got the solution and you're coming from a high vibe place and you're not getting triggered, you're not judging, you're just letting it be. And you're not participating in what they're doing. The situation resolves itself. It's that easy. It's that easy. And this works out for you too. You just let it fall away. And then high vibrational people will find you because you've cleared the path. You've not engaged. You've kept your vibe high. You're still maintaining your positive thoughts, wishing well for the other person, knowing that they're probably going through something, but you don't care what it is because it's none of your business. You're just going to make sure that you maintain your good feeling flow state. That's what's most important. So I hope that you found this helpful. Don't forget to click the bell and subscribe so that you get notified when new content comes out. And it also helps others come across this content to help them on their journey of transforming their life in positive ways. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all next time. Bye.